Welcome all of you. We are about to begin our last activity, a roundtable about open science. Chairing this activity, we welcome Dr. Nayat Sanchez P., CEO of Inria, Chile. So now, while you are connecting to this Journées Scientifiques 2022, I give the floor to Nayat Sanchez P. and the Open Science Roundtable.
Hello.
Hello, Nayat, how are you?
Hi, good morning. Hello,
Good morning.
everybody. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone who joined us today. I have the great pleasure to share the stage of this roundtable on open science with three amazing speakers from France and Chile, Laurent Romary, Patricia Muñoz, and Maria Jose Escobar. And each of them will present different angles from the open science topic. Thank you all three for joining to have this conversation on open science. I will start presenting Laurent Romary, who is Director for Scientific Information and Culture at Inria. For many years, he has carried out research on natural language processing and the modeling of semi-structured documents, with a specific emphasis on text and linguistic resources. He has also been active in the standardization activities with ISO Committee TC37 and the Text Encoding Initiative. He has been active since many years in various issues related to the advancement of open science. Laurent will present the talk, Open Science, Current Context in France and Inria. Thank you very much, Laurent. We will leave all the questions and the debate to the end. Laurent, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. In the context of this open science roundtable, I wanted to give a few insights about the current situation in France and more particularly at Inria. I'm Laurent Romary. I'm the new Director for Scientific Information and Culture. First, it's necessary to remind everyone about the interest of having a scientific information and in particular an open science policy within our institutions. We've got a duty to accompany our scholars in their attempt to manage and disseminate their research results seen in a wide sense, publications, data sets, but also software, which is very important for our institution. And behind the scene, we want to ensure a few nice properties for those research results. We want to ensure scientific transparency. We want to ensure impact for the researchers, but also for the institution. We want to make sure that the corresponding research sets are of high quality, well documented, whether by the researchers themselves, but also by means of the existing library professionals in our institutions. We need also to control the corresponding budget. And I will say a word concerning subscriptions, APCs, and why it's necessary to invest in new platforms. And finally, probably the most important thing is that we need to make sure that we maintain our sovereignty on the corresponding digital material. So to this purpose, we need public and sustainable infrastructures that allows us to do some data mining, for instance, to provide research indicators and the like. From the point of view of Inria, we had a certain reorganization of our activities in the domain of open science and scientific information with this new Directorate for Scientific Information and Culture, which was set up on the 1st of January 2022. With two sub-departments, one dedicated to scientific information and scientific edition, with Alain Montet as the head of department, whom you've heard yesterday, and a second department dedicated to scientific education and mediation, with Jean-Marc Assenfratz and Corinne Touati. This is where we produce, for instance, MOOCs, like the reproducible research MOOC for instance, which has been a success on a wide scale. But also, this is where we coordinate all the scientific mediation activities within our research centers within Inria. On a national level, we had major developments in the recent years. An important one is in 2016, a dedicated law, so-called Loi pour une République numérique, law for a digital republic, which allowed us to have two very nice articles, one allowing us to deposit our author accepted manuscripts in publication repositories after a maximal 6-month embargo period for hard sciences, and also mandatory openness for public data comprising research data. In July last year, we had the second issue of the National Open Science Plan, which set up for us the background for all these activities related to open science, like I mentioned, for publications, research data, source code produced by research. In order to make this work, we have a few national or international open science infrastructures, which I'm going to mention very quickly. First, concerning publications, as most of you know, we have a national multidisciplinary open access repository, HAL, where researchers can deposit their publications, preprints, theses, or reports. And Inria, together with CNRS and INRAE, are responsible for the management of the corresponding infrastructure. We now have more than 1 million documents and 3 million references. For instance, for Inria Chile, you may know that there is a specific collection where all the corresponding publications are being recorded within HAL. For software, we are one of the funding institutions of Software Heritage, which is an international attempt to collect, preserve, and share all software publicly available in the form of source code. There are currently 2 billion source files, which is quite enormous when you consider it. Finally, for research data, it has been a more complex issue because of the variety of forms that research data can take, the variety of dissemination cultures in various fields. But we are happy to see the prospect of having a national repository for research data being launched in the coming July, called Research Data Gov. This is the snapshot of the Inria Chile collection here. And let me switch to another important topic for us, which is the business models that are imposed by publishers in the context of open access. First, some background concepts. As you all know, there are several ways to finance publications in relation to the service provided by commercial publishers, either through subscription, what we call reader pays, the classical scheme, I would say, through APC or article processing charges. This is when an author has to pay a fee to have their paper in open access. And more recently, maybe you heard about the term diamond model, where public platforms like Centre Mersenne or EpiScience, which is a Novel journal platform, are directly financed by institutions and provide services where neither the authors nor the readers have to pay. In the private environment, you've got 2 types of so-called open access journals, native open access journals like PLOS, BMC, MDPI, or Frontiers, where you don't have subscriptions. In addition to the APC, you've got to pay to have your papers in open access, and hybrid journals where you've got the option to pay an APC on top of the existing subscription. So it makes the current business landscape quite fragmented, and this is one of our duties, to put all these things in coherence, but also in relation to what we do with so-called green open access, where, for instance, at Inria and more recently at CNRS, there are deposit mandates so that, for instance, at Inria, all papers produced by our researchers have to be deposited in HAL to be taken into account in annual reporting activities. One of the important issues we've observed recently is that even, I would say, official publishers like MDPI or Frontiers appear to have, let me call them predatory commercial practices. That is, they tend to put pressure on editorial committees to actually accept more papers than what normal peer reviewing would lead to. This also leads to a high increase in the corresponding budgets. We shall see. I've got a few graphics to demonstrate that. Just to mention the Inria policy, which led to our capacity to observe what's going on at present. Right from the onset, we've forbidden the payment of hybrid APCs because we consider that you don't have to pay on top of subscriptions to have your paper open access, because you can put it on the French National Repository HAL. We set up a central budget for all APC payments since 2009, so that we had a real overview of what was paid by our institution in the domain of open access journals. And we also added a deposit mandate comprising the publisher's version when APC are paid. When you look at the figures, we observed, you can just look at the difference between 2019 and 2020, nearly a 30% increase between these 2 years in the quantity of APCs we had to pay. So roughly speaking, from 19,000 to 120,000 euros per year for the corresponding years here. This increase, when you look at what happens for the various publishers that we are related to, corresponds to, I would say, a hype related to the publishers I was mentioning before. So you see, for instance, the importance that Frontiers has taken in our disciplines. You see the very high rise with MDPI journals. And you also observe I would say, the classical role of BMC for all disciplines at the interface between computer science and the biomedical domain, let me say. So we've got a real problem, and we have started to address this problem by identifying how we can slow down the rate at which we are going to pay for those APCs. There are two types of directions that we want to follow. First, we've started to inform our researchers about the danger to publish in such publishers as Frontiers and then DPI, for instance, when they are invited to special issues by colleagues. Second, we want to make sure, for instance, for younger researchers that their publications are approved by research teams, for instance, in the short term, so that we don't have, I would say, random requests for payment concerning such journals. Okay, to conclude, having put this focus on APCs, I hope this shows the necessity to work across institutions on open science issues at large. It has to do with policy development, the setting up of common infrastructures, but also relation to other aspects of scientific policy. For instance, research assessment. What could be the role of open science in, I would say, a transparent research assessment process within our institutions? Second, it's very important to discuss all together on how to improve our understanding of new topics as they appear. So how do we manage with research data? How do we ensure quality, proper documentation, the use of international standards, and of course, hosting of such research data? And like we've just seen, how do we deal with the issues of publication business models? How do we prevent, in particular, dramatic increase of our APC budget? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Laurent, for your presentation on the context in France and in Inria in this important topic of open science. As I was telling you in the beginning, we will leave the questions and the debate to the end. And next I will present Patricia Muñoz Palma, which is the Deputy Director of Networks, Strategy and Knowledge from the Chilean National Research and Development Agency. She is a specialist in scientific and technological information management. Its main lines of specialization are access to information, monitoring of scientific production, scientific data management, and scientific and technological policy. She has a vast experience in the design of information services and tools for the promotion and management of scientific and technological research, such as data ciencia in Spanish, and the research portal of ANID, among others. As Deputy Director of Network, Strategy and Knowledge of ANID, she leads the territorial and also the international articulation strategy, access to data and scientific knowledge generated with public funds, strengthening and institutional capacities. She's a member of different committees of experts and international networks, CoData, the reference, and others. And she will present ANID Open Science, Open Access to Information and Scientific Data. It is a great, great pleasure to have you here with us today, Patricia. The floor is yours.
Buenos días, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Patricia Muñoz, soy la subdirectora de Red de Estrategia y Conocimientos de la ANID y le hablaré de lo que está sucediendo en ANID a propósito de ciencia abierta, acceso abierto a la información científica y a datos científicos de investigación financiados con fondos públicos. En este contexto, primero es informarles que la Agencia Nacional de Investigación y Desarrollo es la principal agencia destinada a financiar investigación y desarrollo CTCI en el ecosistema nacional. Sus principios rectores es administrar iniciativas e instrumentos, junto con promover y fomentar y desarrollar todo el proceso de investigación e innovación de base científica para todas las áreas del conocimiento que ha sido parte de el gran ímpetu y desarrollo y incentivo que hemos tenido a la fecha. Para contextualizar nuestra mirada sobre ciencia abierta en el país, a propósito de la ANID también, es importante relevar que hemos contado hace ya bastante, incluso décadas, bastante tiempo, con servicios de información científica que nos hicieron pensar y replantear que no estaba todo sin hacer, sino que habían cosas que mejorar y posicionar como bienes públicos, y en ese ecosistema de información científica podemos reconocer los repositorios digitales que contamos, la biblioteca de acceso a la información científica como tal, todo el portal de revistas Cielo Chile, que son las revistas nacionales de alta calidad y competitiva, todo el proceso de monitoreo de la producción científica, que es parte de lo que está disponible para entender y monitorear el desarrollo de la ciencia en Chile, y también está el portal del investigador, que hace sentido en el entendido que son nuestros investigadores, su currículum y todas las personas que están participando en nuestros procesos de financiamiento y lo que están haciendo ciencia en el país. Dicho eso, este levantamiento y este ecosistema que se ha generado en Chile a propósito del CONICET y ahora de la ANID, también cuenta con iniciativas de acceso abierto bien específicas, desde la creación de repositorio de acceso abierto hasta la plataforma de revistas de acceso abierto ya muy conocida a nivel internacional, lo que es Cielo. Junto con ello, hemos estado trabajando internacionalmente en distintos proyectos que fortalecen el acceso abierto, así como hemos sido miembro fundador y de parte del Consejo Directivo hasta la fecha de la referencia, que es una agrupación de todas las agencias de financiamiento y Ministerio de Ciencia a nivel iberoamericano, y que contamos con infraestructura y servicios que estamos dando hacia todas las comunidades. En este contexto, la creación de la NIT, de esta agencia que ya lleva 2 años funcionando en Chile con esta nueva institucionalidad, hace sentido como una oportunidad de desarrollo para una política de acceso a la información científica, a propósito que hemos considerado, y esta nueva institucionalidad propone, que la ciencia, la investigación y el desarrollo y el resultado de estos procesos son bienes públicos para la ciudadanía y que deben estar disponibles y ser vistos como parte también de la transparencia con la utilización de los fondos públicos. Por lo tanto, ese nuevo contexto nos da una especie de ruta y de incentivo para seguir trabajando hacia la ciencia abierta en la institución. Con ese propósito hemos contado con, queremos llegar a tener un sistema transparente y abierto, donde la utilización y la publicación de información y datos científicos generados con fondos públicos esté disponible, sea reutilizable y que permita el desarrollo social, económico a nivel nacional. ¿Cómo focalizamos los esfuerzos en este proceso? Vimos que habían entes rectores que deberíamos posicionar y que debería ser el sello para generar esta infraestructura, este ecosistema abierto a nivel nacional, y es así como generamos también iniciativas e instrumentos, o mejorar esas iniciativas e instrumentos que ya existen en algunos casos, pero de una manera participativa, involucrando a la comunidad en varios aspectos de este proceso y de esta consulta, y también fortaleciendo las capacidades locales e institucionales, es decir, no podemos contar con un desarrollo de la ciencia abierta y un entorno abierto si no contamos con instituciones que estén acorde a dar esos servicios, que reconozcan esto como un énfasis de bien público y como una nueva forma de hacer las cosas. Y también hemos dado un énfasis a la colaboración y articulación para generar un trabajo en red a nivel nacional, que permita a una agencia como esta ser partícipe y líder a nivel nacional de un proceso que sea participativo, que sea articulado con todos los incumbentes del sistema. Con esos 4 fundamentos es que hemos logrado y hemos estado trabajando en el último periodo. Como una parte de las iniciativas que hemos considerado y tenemos activa y que ya está en proceso, es la política de acceso abierto a la NIT, que busca fortalecer y democratizar el acceso al conocimiento científico para toda la ciudadanía, disponer estándares mínimos de transparencia y rendición de cuentas también, y sobre todo también generar la trazabilidad de los resultados obtenidos con fondos públicos a través de los instrumentos de la NIT. Con ese proceso y con ese objetivo, esta política se redactó y generó y pasó a ser parte también de una consulta pública. El énfasis de esta política en esta etapa de política es acerca de la publicación y los datos científicos. Acerca de la publicación y los resultados de investigación científica que estén disponibles en repositorios de la NIT o en otro repositorio institucional que cumpla con los estándares. Y acerca de los datos científicos es generar también repositorios de datos científicos en las instituciones y en nuestra propia institución, pero también generar en el proceso de desarrollo de la investigación que los investigadores y las instituciones presenten a priori el plan de gestión de datos que permita reconocer la trazabilidad de estos documentos y de estos datos científicos. Esos son los 2 énfasis que tiene esta política y que está con el desarrollo, asociado al desarrollo de un bien público, con los resultados de investigación con financiamiento público. ¿Cómo involucramos a la comunidad en este proceso? Hicimos una consulta pública sobre el acceso abierto, sobre la política de acceso abierto como una propuesta, y durante ese periodo, en el 2020, hemos llevado esa consulta pública, tuvimos un 90% de consenso en que era necesario la implementación de esta política a nivel nacional y en la NIT, y que tenía sentido para los incumbentes que respondieron esto, y hemos trabajado también articuladamente con sociedades científicas, con universidades, tanto públicas como privadas, y con otros miembros de la comunidad científica para dar a conocer cuál es la propuesta de política de acceso abierto y cómo la podríamos empezar a implementar dentro de la NIT y en los instrumentos que estamos generando para ello. ¿Cómo miramos, aparte de esta consulta? Ya nos dijimos que la política podría ser posible y está dentro de los ejes estratégicos de nuestra agencia, es que generamos también un instrumento nuevo que se llama INES de Ciencia Abierta, que es fortalecimiento de capacidades en esta línea en las instituciones de investigación, en las universidades, que permitan no solamente generar infraestructura, sino que hacer un cambio cultural dentro de las propias instituciones, de modo de que estas instituciones, mientras nosotros estamos implementando la política de acceso abierto, mientras estamos dando servicios de ciencia abierta, puedan estar acorde a lo que se está haciendo como incentivo público. Por lo tanto, estamos generando que esas instituciones fortalezcan esta línea de acción, esta línea de investigación también, y puedan implementar servicios dentro de sus instituciones que respondan a la política y al tema global de qué es lo que es ciencia abierta. Durante este año, ella se encuentra de nuevo la segunda convocatoria de este instrumento, lo que está dándole continuidad y poder generar mayor cobertura en otras instituciones que puedan tener financiamiento para desarrollar servicios, infraestructura y cambios culturales dentro de su propia institución. ¿Cómo lo hemos hecho hasta ahora? ¿Qué es lo que estamos haciendo y qué instrumentos están abordando y haciendo un guiño al acceso abierto y a la ciencia abierta? Por ejemplo, los proyectos COVID, que fueron un fondo específico para responder de forma rápida a la pandemia. Esos proyectos que ya están finalizados tienen la disponibilidad de los datos en acceso abierto y también los resultados de investigación que han tenido en los repositorios de la NIT. Es su primer instrumento que asume totalmente lo que está mandatado en la política. Esta línea de ciencia abierta que ya lo mencioné, que busca fortalecer las capacidades en las universidades. Tenemos también una normativa en las bases sobre la disponibilidad de los resultados de investigación en los anillos, que son investigaciones avanzadas en distintas áreas específicas, y el fondo de sequía, de proyectos de sequía, los resultados y datos científicos también estarán disponibles en acceso abierto para uso de todos los ciudadanos, los investigadores y reutilización de los datos científicos. Sobre todo por el énfasis que tiene la escasez de recursos hídricos en Chile, hace que estos datos sean de mayor importancia para que sean reutilizados. ¿Qué es lo que estamos haciendo o cómo llegamos a esto? Ya estamos en una infraestructura nacional de acceso como tal, donde estamos trabajando en red articuladamente, donde ya contamos con beneficiarios, contamos con responsables, contamos con instrumentos y con énfasis que tenemos que hacer, y es así como el acceso abierto, los repositorios, la política de acceso como un ente de incentivo, más la generación de un nodo nacional de acceso para todos los repositorios nacionales, y un reestudio, replanteo de qué contenido necesitamos acceder o suscribir, es parte de lo que estamos generando en esta infraestructura nacional de acceso, que está formada por todas las universidades públicas y privadas de Chile, lideradas por la NIT, y que cuenta también con la red de bibliotecas universitarias como apoyo principal, y lo que estamos haciendo es trabajando en red hacia la infraestructura nacional de acceso, con todos los componentes que ya la NIT ha generado y ha incentivado para su uso, pero en este caso de una forma articulada con todos los incumbentes y todas las instituciones. ¿Cuáles son las etapas? En esta etapa de proceso empezamos ya en el 2020 muy fuertemente con las consultas públicas, articulando la política, redactándola, dando una propuesta sobre ella, y ya en este año ya la política es una realidad. Tenemos que tener resultados de implementación al 2023, y hemos contado con un sinnúmero de actividades durante todo este proceso, que ha sido de forma articulada y colaborativa con todos los incumbentes. Este año contamos con la infraestructura nacional ya implementada como una realidad, donde tenemos una gobernanza, un directorio, tenemos comités técnicos de desarrollo, y que permiten responder de buena manera y de forma nacional a todo lo que está viviendo el proceso de ciencia abierta en el país. Y es así como esperamos ya el segundo semestre contar con un nodo de acceso a la información científica de una manera de piloto, y también tener ya los primeros resultados de qué contenidos vamos a compartir en Chile, qué contenidos queremos comprar de forma consorciada también y cómo vamos a darle acceso a esos contenidos a los investigadores y a la ciudadanía en general. ¿Qué es lo que falta fortalecer o lo que hay que seguir fortaleciendo en este ecosistema nacional? Generar políticas explícitas que fortalezcan el incentivo al acceso abierto es parte de los desafíos que tienen las instituciones, tanto de investigación como públicas también. Generar el cambio cultural en recomendaciones tecnológicas, incentivos y otro tipo de uso y de conocimiento de parte de los investigadores sobre cómo se comparten estos datos científicos. No olvidar el desarrollo de capital humano, tanto en investigadores, editores, profesionales que están asociados a la generación de conocimiento científico. Replantear el modelo de evaluación de los proyectos de investigadores, con incentivo al acceso abierto y reconociendo que hay otros tipos de impacto que no tienen que ver solamente con impacto científico o con el factor de impacto totalmente conocido a nivel global. Apoyar el desarrollo y la calidad de las revistas nacionales que nacen siendo ya parte de la comunidad, son de acceso abierto, pero si tenemos revistas nacionales totalmente consolidadas y de apoyo a las disciplinas que representan, sería de gran utilidad que fuesen y siguiesen siendo igual de competitivas. Y promover el uso y apoyar las infraestructuras tecnológicas interoperables de acceso abierto que sí existen a nivel global, como son la referencia, Cielo, etcétera, que nos permiten trabajar a nivel conectado internacionalmente, nos permiten posicionar el conocimiento científico generado en Chile, pero eso también nos permiten generar economías de escala en el desarrollo de nuevos sistemas. Por lo tanto, son parte de los ejes que no debemos olvidar para fortalecer este ecosistema de información científica abierta y que son parte de los desafíos que tiene la NIT en estos últimos periodos. Con todo, muchas gracias y nos siguen por nuestras cuentas de redes sociales y bienvenido a esta nueva forma de acceso que estamos generando en el país y desde la NIT. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for your presentation. The debate will be at the end, so stay connected. Next, I will present Maria Jose Escobar, which is an electronic civil engineer and master in electronic engineer from the Federico Santa Maria Technical University in Valparaíso, Chile. She completed a PhD in signal and image processing at the Inria Sophie Antipolis in France. And between 2004 and 2019, she served as a faculty member of the Department of Electronic Engineering of the University Federico Santa Maria, and she's the principal investigator of the Advanced Center for Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Her main research lines are biological vision, computational neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and cognitive robotics. Also, between December 2019 and March 2022, she had served as a regional ministerial secretary for science, technology, knowledge, and innovation of the Macrozona Centro. And in March 2022, she returned to academia as an associate professor at the University Federico Santa Maria. Maria Jose is a long-term collaborator of Inria Chile, and it's a real pleasure to have you here. Please, Maria Jose, the floor is all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here joining this panel. Today, I want to talk to you about open science in Chile with a special focus in open data. So, new technologies such as AI and digitalization are promising to create a great economic impact in the next 10 years. We can see that, but also affecting the labor productivity and the labor market. The important thing here is that the benefits that AI and digitalization are providing to different parts of the world is not homogeneous. And of course, as a country, as Chile, we want to maximize these benefits, minimizing the risk of the adoption of these new technologies. With this goal in mind, is that in Chile, we were working in the last 2 years to create the AI National Plan, which was launched in like 6 months ago. And these are 3 main topics. The first one is enabling factors, the thing that should happen to make the adoption of AI an opportunity, minimizing the risks. And that includes human capital, technological infrastructure as data centers, internet connections, or 5G, and data. Okay. The second topic concerns development and adoption, and that talks about research, development, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and also the public and private community. And the third topic, it's about ethics, regulation, socioeconomic impact, and of course, it talks about ethics, the workforce impact, consumer relationships, intellectual property, cybersecurity and cyber defense, environmental issues, gender bias, and culture, art, and heritage. So I want to, given this national plan, I want to focus here on data and how data, more specifically open data, could also provide an opportunity to create and to promote the open science. So here I want to talk to you about 3 examples where open data is generated by your country, Chile, and how this open data promotes the open science. So the first one is astronomical data. Chile is not any country. Chile is a hotspot in astronomy. What does it mean, a hotspot? It says that the 64% of the world's telescope astronomical capacity in 2025. So in 3 more years, we have a big infrastructure observing the universe, observing the skies, it's optic infrastructure, radio telescope, CTAs, etc. For instance, we will have the very large telescope in Antofagasta region, the Vera Rubin and Coquimbo region, the extremely large telescope in Antofagasta, and the giant Magellanic telescope. Infrastructure that is unique in the world. We are very lucky to have it here installed in our country. And of course, this data provides great opportunities to the development of science and more specifically open science. So this is a map of the global capacity observing the universe. And I will place here some red dots, which indicates which of these telescopes are located in Chile. And they're mainly located in 3 regions of our country, which is Antofagasta, Copiapó, and Coquimbo regions. So the important thing here is that each of these telescopes are constantly generating a huge amount of data. Okay. For instance, the Vera Rubin telescope will generate 1.28 petabytes per year in photographies, okay, which means 30 terabytes per night. So what this Vera Rubin telescope is doing, here we have a photograph of how the construction is moving on, and on the top we have a render showing how the Vera Rubin is going to look at it. And what the Vera Rubin is doing is scanning the whole sky every 3 days and collecting images of that all the events that are happening around the sky during the 3 days. So every night, Vera Rubin generates 800. It's 3.2 billion pixels camera. So this is the largest digital camera in the world, especially created for this telescope. So a full sky map of high resolution image is that all the information generated by this telescope, Vera Rubin or other optical telescopes, after a few periods of time are provided to the global community. So in the case of AURA, European Southern Observatory ESO, now of Carnegie, they have restricted access during 1 year, but after 1 year, all this data is available for the global community. Some of these telescope data are available using the consortium platform. For instance, the ESO has a very nice platform to access all the data, and other ones are under request. But the important thing is that all the astronomical data is available for the scientific community. Okay. In the particular case of Vera Rubin, all the images that will be automatically available for the countries being part of Aura and Chile. Okay, this is one of the advantages of having this kind of infrastructure in our country. So this is an example of the platform to access data of the European Southern Observatory. So if we click here in Science portal, we have something like that. We have a full sky images with different points. Each point indicates a data set that can be downloaded and processed, trying to answer one scientific question or not. Okay. This is not the only manner to get this data. So some of the other telescopes, for instance, ALMA, the data is too heavy to be downloaded every time we need it. So that's why what's created here, what we call the TIVO, which is the Chilean Virtual Observatory, that it contains the data from ALMA in the cloud, and all the scientific people, engineer, or anyone who wants to access and manage this data, you can work directly on the cloud without needing to download all this information. Okay. A second example about open data is the climate change data. And here, the Ministry of Science, together with the Foreign Affairs Ministers and the Environmental Minister, were working during the last 2 years also on something called the Climate Change Observatory. This Climate Change Observatory, it's trying to put together all the information generated concerning climate change, and it has three main lines of actions. The first one is governance and platform. The governance of this Climate Change Observatory is located in the Ministry of Science and Technology, who has the role to coordinate and facilitate collaborations between scientific communities, citizens, public sector, and the private sector. So the second line of action of this initiative is the new sensor network in the Antarctic base. So for this reason, not only the Ministry of Science, but also the Chilean Antarctic Institute, they will install a new network of multi-parameter sensors in the Atlantic in order to monitor with very high precisions all the metrics concerning the effects of climate change. And the third one is an integrated network for Earth observation. The idea is here that all the Chilean research group receiving public fundings being connected through this platform and put all the data concerning climate change in a unique place. We're using this platform. This is the link of the platform. You can access to check what kind of data is available, how to download this data, and how to use them for scientific or any other reason. And the third example I want to show you today is the COVID data. Okay, COVID pandemics was a big impact in the whole humanity, especially in Chile. It was a big challenge to generate the data, to coordinate the data, and to provide and leave the data in a place where it can be useful for many entities to visualize the effect of the pandemics, to visualize if the public decisions are taking effects or not, trying to understand how do we behave as humans with these pandemics, how our bodies, how the vaccines are affecting the propagation of the pandemics or not. So we created the database of COVID-19, and especially a GitHub repository, which is here. You can visit this repository with this link. And the important thing is that this repository concentrates 95 data products, considering data of the whole country, per region, per city. And all these data products that are updated every day contains information about the number of cases, the PCR exams, the hospital occupations, the mortality, vaccination programs, etc. It has more than 1 million of downloads and more than 30 million of visits. So it has been very successful how this open data has helped the community and many other actors. And finally, this data is available for the understanding how the COVID pandemic is affecting our country. So finally, this is an example of how this initiative could improve things and make things better, is that the Chilean Ministries of Health and Science partner with the Instituto de Sistemas Complejos de Ingeniería and the telecom company Entel. They develop a series of methodologies and tools which were very innovative in order to help the decisions and how to contain this virus, including tools that shed light on the actual effects of the lockdowns in different cities, help to allocate limited intensive care capacity, multiply the testing capacity, provided on the ground strategies for an active search of asymptomatic cases, etc., etc. And this initiative was very successful in the sense that they received the 2022 France Edelman Award for achievement in advanced analytics, operation research, and management science. So this is a success case that shows specifically how the public sectors, together with the academia and the private sector, could actively collaborate together with a common purpose, which is in this case is use all the science that we have, all the technology that we have to contain the COVID pandemics. So these are the three examples that I wanted to talk to you. And now, of course, we will keep talking about this in the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria Jose. Thank you so much for your presentation. I want to invite then to the stage Laurent Romary, Patricia Muñoz, and Maria Jose Escobar will join us for the debate. It is a pop-up window. You need to accept the invitation. Okay, you're there. Hello.
I'm here.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Naya.
Hi.
Hola, Patricia.
Hola, hola, hola. Hola, María José.
Okay, maybe we can. Maybe we can continue with the questions to Maria Jose and Patricia. Patricia, you don't mind that I speak in English? Can you? Okay, I will speak in English and then we exchange in Spanish.
Okay.
When the question directly to you. Okay, perfect. So it is clear that practicing open science means that research outputs are accessible to all. Okay, and this is very important to ensure that all the researchers, but also other stakeholders, have access to the information regardless their location or the economic situation. And this is very important because this is also a fundamental. Hello, Laurent, you're back. Hello, welcome.
Yeah, sorry, I had a disconnection here. Yeah.
No, right. We're just in the introduction. I was just saying that open access is very important because it's also a fundamental human right in any democratic society. And I was just thanking all you three for the presentations in different angles that were very, very exciting, all three. And in this respect, Laurent, I wanted to start with you just with the first question, taking advantage that you are connected. And I wanted to ask you that, Inria is an institution that has a dual clear role, to develop a research of excellence, but also to have a clear impact on economy and society in general. And also knowing that the concepts of open science and open innovation based on intellectual property rules are sometimes different angles of implementation, and mostly in the case of software, okay? and in the case of digital sciences. And I want you to please elaborate a little bit more on how the Inria vision is aligned not only with promoting the open access that you explained so well in your presentation to the scientific results and shareable results, but how it's disconnected to other R&D partners and also with industrials that can capture the value created through their efficient commercialization to the market. And I have a second question, but I leave you with this one first.
Yeah, because I've got two answers to your question. So thank you very much for this a very relevant question. There are two aspects to see that, the before and the after. So when you collaborate with a company, when you develop software, for instance, which you want to distribute under specific licenses afterwards, this is a decision you take at an early stage in the process. But once you've decided that the material has to be open, software, documents, data, then it has to be as nicely open as possible. So widely accessible, widely reusable. So this is part of the double strategy within Inria to identify at an early stage when and how something has to be open, and then do it on one of the available platforms. The second possible answer to your question is also that openness can be an instrument in terms of intellectual property. I've had some very nice feedback from the European Patent Office, where we discovered that more than 200-300 documents which were available on the HAL National Publication Repository had been used as so-called X document, that is prior art for the examination of software patents by company. So that's another way to have impact, that is to have impact on the industrial side, because you demonstrate through open science that you've got a prior acknowledgement of some discoveries which other companies may have been tempted to patent. So that's two views on the question you ask.
Yeah, thank you, Vic. I absolutely agree with this. And I have a second question, maybe a little bit aligned, that we yesterday had, we had lucky to have as a speaker Roberto Di Cosmos, which is the director of an amazing initiative at Inria on software heritage. And I would just quote him, okay, because she just said, and something that we just agree so much with him, that when we talk about open science, when we making the results available to everybody, easy access and reproducibility, it is no longer enough to have open access to research articles and to open data sets, okay? And we should consider the software that used to do the data manipulation and transformation, and anyone who works on computer science knows that, because it is mandatory to any conference or publication today. So, I mean, how do you think we can promote, and this is a very general question, okay, but I will go to the specific one, and then I will change to Maria Jose, because maybe she also has something to say here. How do you think, Laurent, we can promote a better collaboration between France, and especially from Inria and Chile, and not only in sharing access and widely, but also through open source software and so on? What is your vision here?
I think an important aspect is that we should not see publications, software, and research data as silos, which should be disconnected from one to another. It's very important to have a network, in particular, of references from one to another. That is, from publications, which data sets, which software are actually cited in a publication. When you identify software in software heritage, for instance, in France, you've got the possibility to signal this software within the HAL publication platform, so that we've got a repository of all research productions. So I'm not elaborating on that, but having a real network of relations between publication, software, and data is essential. And if we go in this direction, we can then see how we can link the initiatives we have in France, Europe, and in South America, for instance, like with Cielo, where we compare the metadata profiles. Patricia mentioned Cielo, which is a wonderful initiative. I mean, this is unique worldwide, I must say, in this respect. And we need to connect to it, for instance, and adopt the same principles for instance, linking software to the corresponding publications in HAL or in Cielo, for instance.
Yeah, thank you, Laurent. And Patricia, I will switch to you for this question. First, thank you for your presentation. I have also two questions for you. And it was very interesting to see the vision of Anit so aligned also with the vision of France and also with Inria. And in this sense, I mean, it is clear that collaboration is an important access in the Chilean strategy, right? Because you presented so in your presentation for open science. And in this sense, and since you refer to collaboration at the national level so well as part of the strategy, how from the need you see the international collaboration, okay, and in particular with France and with Inria, I mean, to develop together policies that could be aligned for the common good. If you want, I can just tell the question in Spanish, right? You want me to? Okay, I will repeat it in Spanish. Hmm?
No, it's okay. I understand. Okay. So, pienso que una de las cosas importantes que ha hecho Chile y que Latinoamérica lo ha hecho es que hemos generado cooperación internacional en todos los procesos de acceso abierto. No solamente por Cielo, que nace en Brasil y que fue un proceso iberoamericano, y que luego Chile tomó como suyo y es parte de la política de acceso también. Y en ese sentido, la cooperación y el estar en esta globalidad, lo que mencionó Laura recién, el tema de los metadatos. O sea, la metadata que estamos trabajando todos los repositorios en algo muy parecido a nivel iberoamericano también, y Chile está tomando las mismas políticas de acceso. En ese sentido, esa interoperabilidad, ese proceso pasa más allá de la cooperación y los acuerdos y firmas, sino que estamos ya a nivel de infraestructura, estamos trabajando en ese proceso completo. Entonces, creo que eso es parte de lo que no podemos perder, y los proyectos grandes y de cooperación internacional han permitido también tener una economía de escala para muchos países que no tienen o no han tenido el mismo nivel de desarrollo. Por lo tanto, cuando alguno avanza, esto se traspasa y lo estamos haciendo no solamente con los gobiernos y la referencia, en este caso particular, y todos los acuerdos internacionales que tenemos con otras organizaciones como COAR y la Unión Europea también, etcétera, sino también a través de las revistas científicas que se están empoderando y que nacen en Latinoamérica como un proyecto único y nacen en acceso abierto. Antes de que mencionáramos la palabra de acceso abierto, Latinoamérica ya tenía ese proceso de revistas electrónicas en acceso abierto, que lo siguen manteniendo los estados porque no son gratis. El Estado se hace cargo de ese proceso y las instituciones. En el caso de Chile, lo sigue haciendo ANIT. Hace y mantiene las plataformas de revistas para que sean interoperables y estén accesibles. Entonces, hay un proceso de economía de escala y es una parte de la cooperación.
Muy bien, yo creo que I think that, that's a question in the chat that I think that you already answered, but I will just read it just if you want to, highlight anything else. But the question says, thanks, Patricia. Can you give examples, first, on policies for promoting open access? And second, how can interoperable infrastructure can be supported? I think you already answered, but go ahead if you want to.
Ok. A ver, creo que particularmente en Chile hay una política de facto en Open Access antes de que hiciéramos la política de Open Access. El hecho que involucráramos a las instituciones en un proyecto nacional que fue Cielo Chile, fue la primera iniciativa de acceso abierto sin saber que era de acceso abierto. Y en ese sentido, ya las universidades, y de ahí en adelante, los repositorios que se generaron en los servicios públicos estaban en Open Access. Cuando llega las primeras declaraciones de Berlín y qué sé yo, del Open Access, y que eso
nos toma de sorpresa porque no sabíamos que era Open Access y lo estábamos haciendo desde antes. Y eso pasó en toda la región, en toda Latinoamérica. Entonces, hay iniciativas que empiezan antes de este proceso. Ahora, ¿qué es lo que estamos haciendo? A nivel país estamos no solamente con la política como un incentivo, que es un incentivo porque es parte dentro del proceso de asignación de fondos públicos y del proceso de cierre de los proyectos de investigación, donde van a tener que reportar dónde están accesibles sus resultados y de qué manera, o en qué repositorio e infraestructuras van a estar. Y en esos incentivos van directamente apoyando esa política. Pero también hay incentivos directos a las políticas de las instituciones para generar plataformas, para generar la cultura del acceso abierto y con eso sostener lo que está haciendo el Estado. En el fondo, la declaración de política de acceso significa también tener capacidades en las instituciones. Acerca de la infraestructura y cómo es la interoperabilidad, nosotros estamos trabajando con acuerdos ya a nivel regional de qué metadatos estamos utilizando y cómo estos repositorios se conectan, cuáles son el estándar mínimo que deben tener, y también con servicios de cosechadores y de harvesting que permiten hacer este proceso de recolección de datos sin repetir repositorios y entregar resultados para la ciudadanía, para los investigadores. Entonces, en ese sentido, ya hay un acuerdo, ya tenemos el estándar. El estándar es global, no es un estándar chileno ni tampoco latinoamericano, sino que son los estándares que se están ocupando a nivel global. Eso lo estamos apoyando de esa forma. Y la creación de infraestructura está dentro de los incentivos que da la NIT, pero sin embargo también a nivel nacional me refiero con la red de apoyo a la infraestructura nacional, la firma con todas las universidades, estamos trabajando en un servicio que permita cosechar a todos estos repositorios y tener un acceso único a las publicaciones y a los datos que están generados con fondos públicos en el país. Entonces, hay un proyecto de gran escala, pero todo tiene que ver que tecnológicamente somos interoperables, si no, no resulta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for your answer. Just to let you know that in the final video that will be uploaded in our YouTube channel and in the website, all the answer of Patricia will be translated, so you can access to her response. Okay, Maria Jose, I'm going with you. I thank you so much for being here, and I have a question that is taking into account your experience as AI researcher, but also in connection with your recent public role in the Chilean Ministry of Science and Technology, Innovation, Knowledge, and also with respect to the national strategy of AI that you just presented some of the highlights, okay? Because we know that both the development and use of AI technology have the potential to be hindered by several identified challenges when it comes to intellectual property rights. Well, because of many things, but because of the current IP rights protection mechanisms are very complex, okay? Because sometimes the different jurisdictions have slightly different rules and practices, and also because there are these new concepts related to AI, such as data, such as raw data, such as label data, structured data, the trained data sets, pre-trained models, NLP, and image processing, also raise a lot of questions on how to interact with existing IP mechanisms and how to shape future ones to cover these gaps. And in this respect, I want to ask you, how do you think, Maria Jose, we can achieve a balance between the open science and the IP rules? This is something that Laurent expresses and exposed a little bit, but with respect to AI, that assures the wider adoption of AI, which, by the way, is a huge challenge of AI with respect to innovation. How is your feeling about this?
It's a tough question. Thank you.
I know.
It's not an easy question, and I had an internet issue in between. Okay.
Oh.
And
do you want me
before addressing that question, I just want to mention something about a collaboration, the Chile and Inria collaboration. And just to complement the answer that Laurent did, is that we have a lot of data here in Chile, especially astronomical data. But of course, not all the astronomers are able to manage this data, read information from this data, and especially that's a huge amount of data. So a great collaborations between the two countries, it could be to create all the tools to help astronomers, biologists, climate change people, and others to manage this huge amount of data in an easy manner. Okay, there are all the AI algorithms, all the clustering stuff, and things like that can be very well managed if there is a big support on managing this kind of information. And regarding the contrast between IP and open science, of course, the answer is not easy. Okay, my personal opinion is that data should be available. So from one side, you have data. Who's the owner of the data? Is the state the owner of the data? If the state is funding research, that's all the people are owner of the data. But even if the data is generated by privates, it's also an ethical concern about if that data is available or not. I think that how to protect the IP is more related with the application you build, the ideas you create using that data. So the protection is not on the data, it should be moved towards the protection on the applications you're able to construct doing data with that data. Okay, so the final products are not the ingredients that are generating that product.
Well, thank you, Maria Jose, because I mean, this is a very tough question. I agree with you, because I mean, open access should be also seen as a gateway to open innovation. And I mean, there needs to be, for sure, a balanced approach between I mean, IP rules and the open science policy, and these concepts should be promoted hand by hand. This is not a single answer for this, and I agree that this is something that should be reviewed altogether. So thank you so much for your presentations and for being available for your questions, and well, thank you so much, and see you in the next Journées Scientifiques. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be with you today.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nayat. Thank you for your presentation also. Well, I want to repeat the thanks. We're very grateful to everyone that participated in the roundtable. We had 4 tremendously enriching days, full of progress, news, innovation, and also technology. From Inria, Chile, we sincerely thank the authorities who accompanied us, and to those who made this event possible, to all the speakers, scientists, and investigators who gave us valuable information. Special thanks to the organization who made this first edition of Journées Scientifiques Inria, Chile 2022. These are opportunities to meet and talk in depth about the changes that we as scientists and also technology experts are proposing, and with which we also contribute to the community in different ways. We remind everyone that you will soon find the talks available on our YouTube channel and also in the website journescientifique2022.inria.cl, so you can review all the talks and also the highlights. Similarly, remember to follow us in updates in Inria Chile on LinkedIn and also on Twitter. But before we leave our Journées Scientifiques, we want to welcome back on stage to Nayat Sanchez P to give you a few words. Nayat?
Thank you, Daniel. And thank you all for participating in our Journées Scientifiques. I didn't want to finish without saying a few words, because it has been an amazing hosting this Journées Scientifiques, the first edition of the Journées Scientifiques Inria, Chile. Despite of the distance, we have managed to have 4 intense and productive days where we discussed most, but not all, the research activities that we are taking place in the involvement of Inria, Chile, between Chilean, French, and other international researchers. This event has been a great opportunity for us to see that our peers are working and creating a space of dialogue between which we can discuss around science and contributions to society. And also in the last 4 days, we have presentations in a lot of topics, as you have may seen, in digital sciences, but also associated with climate change, a challenge that we face as scientists, and other that give solutions to problems using technology. This is not a minor thing. And these are the fruits of an effort, hard working, the transdisciplinary work, and trust, because trusting each other and collaborating is the recipe of all of this. So I'd like to thank the authorities that accompany us during this Journées Scientifiques, the Chilean Ministry of Science, the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, the French Embassy, the Chilean National Agency of Research and Development, and the General Direction of Inria. I also want to thank the 4 amazing keynote speakers for the excellent and inspiring presentations. Also, I would like to thank and congratulate all the researchers who presented the progress and projects in the scientific sessions, and also during the innovation session. We gave the opportunity, or we tried to give the opportunity to all the current joint projects with Inria to present their activities, and we had a great response, so thank you so much. We also had different discussion panels addressing different aspects of the scientific activity. Also like the innovation session and the one we just had on open science. Thank you to all the participants. And also, very importantly, I just want to remind you that we launched the Inria French-Chilean Research Network, which what we expect to boost the collaboration between Inria researchers in France and Chile with our peers in Chile and also in Latin America. Once more, thank you to the program committee, the chairs, the organizing committee, and the Inria Chile team who worked very hard for weeks in the organization of this event. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and I invite you to get in touch with the rest of the activities. We have been preparing for the 10th year anniversary of Inria Chile, which is this year. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon in the next edition of the Journées Scientifiques 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayat, for those words. Well, many thanks to everyone. Thank you for participating in these 4 days. And we remind you all that in a few days, we will have this event online on our website, journescientifiques2022.inria.cl. Thank you, and hope to see you all in the Journées Scientifiques Inria Chile 2023.